Hi everyone, and welcome to the Dibbly-Dobbly Podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page as well. On today's episode of the podcast, we will be reviewing the fourth test match from the Gabba between Australia and India and reviewing the series overall. Let's recap the scores from the fourth test match between Australia and India from the Gabba. Australia batted first and made 369 all out in their first innings. Labuschagne top scored with 108, and the debutants Natarajan and Sundar took 3 wickets each. India in reply all out for 336. Thakur top scored with 67. Hazlewood took 557 for Australia. Australia in their second innings, all out for 294. Steve Smith top scored with 55. And Siraj took his first 5-wicket haul in Test cricket, 5 for 73. India was set 328 by Australia. They chased them down to finish 7 for 329. And Gill top scored with 91. Cummins took 4 for 55 for Australia. India won by 3 wickets and won the series 2-1 and retaining the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And Rishabh Pant was named man of the match. Let's have a look at some of the key points from this fourth test match between Australia and India from the Gabba. This is India's first win at the Gabba since 1947-48. This is Australia's first loss at the Gabba since 1988. And India's 7 for 329 is the highest successful run chase in the fourth innings to win a test match in Brisbane. The previous best was Australia. They chased down 236 against the West Indies in 1951. What really let Australia down in this test match was their batting again. It's been a common theme throughout this whole series with Australia in terms of their batting. Their first innings in particular, all out for 369. They could have got 450, and they should have, and they didn't. We saw once again batsmen getting starts and not going on with it, and lack of partnerships. So that's where Australia got really let down in this test match, is that they weren't able to get a big first innings score on the board. It was definitely a 450 pitch. Unfortunately, the lack of starts and not converting them into big scores and the lack of partnerships once again let Australia down. And they finished on 369, which is an okay first inning score, but you expect more at the Gabba, like 450. I thought Washington Sundars and Shardul Thakur's partnership of 123 for the 7th wicket was crucial for India in their first innings, because that allowed them to get close to Australia, and the deficit in the first innings was 33 runs. And knowing there was some weather around and Australia really had to bat well and aggressively to get a big lead to set India a target, that was crucial from India's point of view to get as close to Australia's first innings total as possible, which they did, all out for 336. And Thakur and Sundar's partnership allowed that. And I think that was the critical moment for India winning this test match, because they didn't concede a lead of over 100 or 150. They could have been chasing like 400 plus in the last innings, but they were set 328 to win, and they chased them down and won with 3 wickets to spare. So that was a critical moment in this test match. I thought the innings of Shubman Gill, Cheshwar Pujara and Rishabh Pant, I thought they were pretty critical in India's chances of winning this test match in the run chase. And they did their job superbly. Gill, 91. Pujara, 56. Rishabh Pant, 89 not out. Unbelievable innings from all 3 of them. And they got the job done for India in a brilliant test match. So overall, it was a great test match to watch, regardless of the result, regardless of who you support, Australia or India. It was a wonderful advertisement for Test cricket. We saw a wonderful finish, a thrilling finish, and that's why we love Test cricket, because of that. And it was a remarkable Test match and a remarkable series as well. And well-deserved victory for India. They really deserve the victory after all they went through in this series with injuries and the likes. Credit has to go to India. They played superbly, and who would have thought that they got the job done here at the Gabba in Australia's first loss to the Gabba since 1988. Wow, unbelievable. But what a Test match. It was a great Test match to watch, and one of the greatest Test match we will ever see at the Gabba, and probably for a long time. Let's have a look at Australia's performance in this Test match. We'll start with the batsmen. Marcus Harris, 5-38. David Warner, 1-48. Labuschagne, 108-25. Steve Smith, 36-55. Matthew Wade, 45-0. Cameron Green, 47-37. Tim Payne, 50-27. Now, what I see there is a lot of starts and a lack of converting those starts into big scores. That's been the common theme and the common problem for Australia in this series, is the lack of starts. Now, that's what really cost them in the first innings. Also, a lack of partnerships as well. I think there was only one 100-run partnership in this Test match, and that was by Labuschagne and Wade, I think, for 113. That was the only 100-run partnership. And that really shows that you need big partnerships to set up big totals. You need batsmen converting starts. Unfortunately for Australia, that didn't happen again. The only one who got a century was Marnus Labuschagne, but then he got out soon after and didn't make it a big 100, which is the frustrating part. They'll be pretty disappointed, the batsmen. They should have got 450 in the first innings, Australia, not 369. 369 is an okay score, but usually at the Gabba, you want 450 plus. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that because they lost wickets at the wrong time. Batsmen played rash shots. Many batsmen got starts, didn't convert them into big scores. Lack of partnerships and backing up partnerships really cost them in the end. So overall, a disappointing performance from the Australian batsmen in this Test match. We'll have a look at the bowlers now. Pat Cummins took 6 wickets for the match. Mitchell Starc only took 2 wickets. Nathan Lyon, 3 wickets. And Josh Hazlewood, 6 wickets for the match. Overall, the bowlers bowled pretty well again. They've been the constant performers in this series for Australia. I think towards the end, the last 2 Test matches, they were a bit disappointed, obviously. Not finishing the job off in Sydney and in Brisbane. They'll be disappointed in not doing that. But I thought they bowled pretty well throughout the whole series. I think Mitchell Starc, towards the end, the last 2 Test matches, he was a bit off. Wasn't really at his best. But I think everyone else bowled pretty well throughout the series. So overall, I think the bowlers will be happy about their series. But they'll be disappointed that they didn't quite get the job done in the last 2 Test matches. But in saying that, they gave it everything they could. They tried everything. India were just too good and just kept fighting and showed that character and resilience and fight as we've seen from them throughout this whole series to really blunt the Australian attack and really make them earn their wickets. And I don't think Australia could have done anything else. They tried everything. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done. Let's have a look at India's performance in this Test match. We'll start with their batsmen. Rohit Sharma, 44-7. Gill, 7-91. Pujara, 25-56. Rahane, 37-24. Agarwal, 38-9. Pant, 23-89, not out. Sundur, 62-22. And Thakur, 67-2. I thought India's batsmen played really well in this Test match. They showed a lot of fight, character, and resilience, as we saw in Sydney, and for the whole series in general. I thought the innings of Gill, Pujara, and Pant in the second innings of the run chase was critical for India's chances of winning the Test match. They really fought it out. They were aggressive at times, but then really played sensibly as well. And Rishabh Pant took the Australian bowlers on, and he won, really. He won that battle. He took them on. That innings from Pant reminded me of that epic innings that Ben Stokes played at Headingley. And on this occasion, it wasn't Ben Stokes or England, and it wasn't Headingley. It was at the Gabba. It was Rishabh Pant, and it was India. And he won the game for India, basically. Superb innings from him. So overall, I think the batsmen did pretty well in this test match. They backed up partnerships, whereas Australia didn't. And they were able to get those partnerships and also get on with the starts that they've created as well, whereas Australia didn't do that. So overall, a good performance from the Indian batsmen. Let's have a look at their bowlers. Sundar took 4 wickets for the match. Thakur took 7 wickets for the match. Saini didn't take any. Siraj took 6, and Natarajan took 3 wickets in the match. It was an inexperienced bowling attack from India, missing key players like Bumrah, Jadeja and Ashwin. But for this inexperienced bowling attack, who, before this test match started, took 13 wickets, I think, combined, compared to Australia's over 1,000 wickets. It was a phenomenal effort to bowl Australia out twice in this test match from an inexperienced bowling attack. And it just shows that India's depth underneath is pretty strong. And they've got a lot of good players coming up through the system. So that's great news for India. And it showed in this test match. Even though they were inexperienced, I thought they bowled pretty well. They kept the pressure on at times. Yeah, sure, they leaked runs. That's to be expected. But they managed to take wickets at the right time. And I thought Siraj led well from the front, being the leader of the attack and only his 3rd test match. I thought he led pretty well, and he deserved a 5-wicket haul as well in the second innings, which he got. So overall, great performance by the bowlers and a great performance by India in this test match to win this series. And especially beat Australia at the Gabba. It's just a phenomenal effort, and it will be remembered as one of the great victories of Indian cricket. Now let's have a look at the series overall. Let's recap ourselves with the results from each of the 4 test matches. We'll start with the first test match in Adelaide. Australia won that by 8 wickets. Man of the match was Tim Paine. We went to the MCG for Boxing Day for the second test. India won that by 8 wickets. Ajinkya Rahane was the man of the match. We went to the SCG for the New Year's test in the Pink Test for the McGrath Foundation. That was a draw. Steve Smith was the man of the match. And the last test, the 4th test at the Gabba, India won that by 3 wickets, and Rishabh Pant was the man of the match. India winning the series 2-1, and Pat Cummins was named man of the series for his 21 wickets that he took in the series. Let's have a look at Australia's series overall and their performance. We'll start with the batsmen. Marnus Labuschagne, 426 runs, 250s and 100. Steve Smith, 313 runs, 250s and 100. Cameron Green, 236 runs, 150. Tim Paine, 204 runs, 250s. Matthew Wade, 173 runs. Will Bukowski, 72 runs and 150. David Warner, 67 runs. Joe Burns, 63 runs and 1 half-century. Travis Head, 62 runs. And Marcus Harris, 43 runs. That's how Australia's batsmen fared in the series. We'll have a look at their bowlers now. Pat Cummins, 21 wickets, best of 4 for 21. Josh Hazlewood, 17 wickets, best of 5 for 8 with 2 5-wicket hauls. Mitchell Starc, 11 wickets, best of 4 for 53. And Nathan Lyon, 9 wickets, best of 3 for 72. What can I say about Australia in this series overall? They played good cricket at times, but other times they didn't play good cricket. The real concern for Australia in this series was the batting. It really let them down, making not big totals in the first innings. It really let them down in this series. A lack of batsmen converting starts, batting collapses, a lack of partnerships as well. It really cost Australia, and that's an area that Australia needs to work on and improve, because you're not going to win too many test matches if you don't post a big first innings total. And if anyone in the top order doesn't make a big century. The only one who made a big century was Steve Smith, and that was in Sydney with 131. Marnus made 108, and they're the only two centurions, whereas everybody else got starts but didn't get on with it. So that's the real concern for Australia moving forward, is that the batting really needs to improve. We saw some good signs from Cameron Green, who scored a 50, and Will Pekoski on debut. Just getting used to Test cricket. Some good signs there. But for the rest, like Matthew Wade, 173 runs, no 50s. And he played quite poorly, to be quite honest, Matthew Wade, in this series. Tim Payne had a good series with the bat, 2 half centuries, and he really did well there, the skipper. David Warner, coming back from injury, wasn't at his fluent best, but I think in Brisbane he was starting to get back to his best. Travis Head had a not a good series, no half centuries, and he was dropped. And Marcus Harris played the last 2 test matches. The last test match, I should say, and only made 43 runs. So overall, Australia's batting performance was poor. It wasn't great. It's probably one area that let them down in this series. The lack of starts, as I said before, the lack of partnerships and backing up partnerships, and batsmen playing rash shots and batting collapses really cost Australia. So a lot of questions to be answered there in terms of the batting. What can I say about the bowlers? The bowlers, once again, did a fantastic job. They'll be disappointed not to get the job done in the last 2 test matches. On day 5 in Sydney and day 5 in Brisbane, I think they'll be disappointed not to finish the job off. They bowled a lot of overs in those last 2 test matches, 131 in Sydney and 97 in Brisbane in the last innings. So that's a lot of overs. And they bowled a lot of overs in this series in general. They tried their best, especially in Sydney and in Brisbane, but they couldn't get the results. But they tried their best. And the one guy who really showed me that they were trying their best is Pat Cummins, because he kept steaming in Sydney, but especially in Brisbane. He got wickets when we needed them. He kept steaming in, kept running in, and just wanted to do well and try his best and win a game for Australia. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the results that they wanted, but in saying that, overall, it's a good attack, obviously, as we know. They tried their best, and obviously India were just too good in the end. So I think Australia, for this series, it will definitely hurt them for a while that they didn't quite get the job done in this series after bowling India out for 36 and not winning the series is quite a hard pill to swallow. It will definitely burn for some time, but I think what you do now is to look forward and try and get better from this. For Australia, it will be just about looking forward and trying to get better from this series. But overall, I think Australia will be disappointed to lose the series. But at the end of the day, you just got to say well played to a very good Indian team who never gave up and managed to win the series. That's all you can say at the end of the day. But no doubt that the whole team tried their best. And they did. They tried their best, but they couldn't get the result. But overall, they'll be disappointed, but they'll be looking to get better and try and learn from this and hopefully win more test matches in the future. let's have a look at India's performance in this series overall. We'll start with the batsman. Pant, 274 runs, 250s. Pujara, 271 runs, 350s. Rahane, 268 runs, 1 century. Gill, 259 runs, 2 half-centuries. Rohit Sharma, 129 runs, 1 half-century. Jadeja, 85 runs, 1 half-century. Sundar, 84 runs, 1 half-century. Kohli, 78 runs, 1 half-century. Agarwal, 78 runs. Vahari, 72 runs. Thakur, 67 runs, 1 half-century. 69 runs, 1 half-century. Saha, 13 runs, and Shaw, 4 runs. That's how India's batsmen fared in the series. We'll have a look at their bowlers now. Siraj, 13 wickets, best of 5 for 73. 1 5-wicket haul. Ashwin, 12 wickets, best of 4 for 55. Bumrah, 11 wickets, best of 4 for 56. Jadeja, 7 wickets, best of 4 for 62. Thakur, 7 wickets, best of 4 for 61. Umesh Yadav, 4 wickets, best of 3 for 40. Sundar, 4 wickets, best of 3 for 89. Saini, 4 wickets, best of 2 for 54. And Natarajan, 3 wickets and a best of 3 for 78. So that's how India's bowlers performed in the series. What can I say about India? A lot of things about India in this series that I can say. What a team effort. What a team effort from this team. If you asked anyone before the second test match in Melbourne that India were going to win this series 2-1 after being bowled out for 36 in Adelaide, you must be dreaming. But they managed to win the series 2-1. I think what we saw for this Indian team, despite all the injuries and having 20 players play in the series, with a lot of injuries and only 2 players playing 4 test matches, that was Pujara and Rahane. They showed a lot of fight, character, resilience, and mental toughness to win this series, and self-belief. They deserved their series win because they played outstandingly well, especially in the last 2 test matches. I thought India's debutants, when they came in, they've done a pretty good job, like Siraj, like Sundar, like Natarajan, Saini, Gill. You can chuck in Thakur in there, but he's played a test match before, but he did pretty well when he came in the last test with both bat and ball. They stood up and they believed that we can do this despite everything against them. I thought Rahane's leadership was good. I thought without Kohli, he led the side pretty well. He did that in Melbourne and then Sydney and then in Brisbane. I think this is a great series win for India. And I think this series win will be remembered for a long time in their history. It was a great series from them. They played exceptionally well. They've got a lot of talented players, and India's depth is good. We can say it's really good. They've got a lot of players coming up through the system who are good. So they're going to be future stars in the making, that's for sure. But overall, they outplayed Australia in this series, and they did. And Australia had no answers. You know, in Sydney, they fought hard to draw that test match. That was probably one of the greatest draws I've seen from a team trying to hang on for a draw in Test cricket for ages. It was just courageous. And the way they won in Brisbane, the run chase, was unbelievable. And to chase down 328, unbelievable. So I think India have a lot to be proud of. And I hope this will lead to bigger and better things for them. Certainly going forward in the future, and hopefully many more series wins to follow. But it's been a great series for them, and they've really done well. And all of their players have performed well. It was a team effort at the end of the day. It was a really big team effort, and they did the unthinkable, winning the series 2-1. So, yeah, unbelievable from India, and outstanding. Well, that's the end of the innings, the close of play for this episode of the podcast. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast. And like and share our Facebook page. It's been a wonderful series of Test cricket between Australia and India. I hope you enjoyed the series and this episode of the podcast. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.